Kevin, I've finally figured out what it takes to have a great marriage and any great relationship.
Nice.
It's wonderful. It's not what you think. It's not that you share the same faith, which is important. I think.
Okay, I wasn't going to think it was the
That's
same faith.
one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not whether you have the same interest in sports or general health.
Right.
That's nice too.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It's not that you're the same kind of level of attractiveness.
Yeah.
It's not level of humor that you might have with each other. No. It boils down to this, and feel free to write it down.
Okay.
Do you like dogs or cats? That is all.
Really?
Yep, that's it. That's my survey of one.
Yeah.
But I think I'm right.
What if you like both?
Yeah, no, it's impossible. You cannot like both.
This cannot happen.
If you are a dog person,
Yeah.
then you better hope that your significant other is also a dog person.
Right.
It will never work. Okay? You are better off being a devout Jesuit marrying a Shiite Muslim
Right.
than if you are a dog person and your spouse is not. I'm just
Yeah.
warning you right here and now.
Did something happen where
These are conversations that you must have with your prospective spouse. Just talk it out. It's a simple thing. Do you like dogs or not? Be honest.
Yeah.
That's all.
And they'll generally have a dog if they like dogs.
I have been together
Yeah.
with my beautiful wife for almost 22 years. Okay?
Yeah.
And like every couple, we have our disagreements from time to time.
Right.
And sometimes we wonder, you know what? We really do like each other. We really do like being with one another.
Right.
And we think to ourselves, what is it that bonds us together? It's our love of dogs.
Oh,
Thank you.
that is awesome.
That's
Yeah.
fine. That's my very scientific
And
survey
they're great
study.
dogs, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You've
Yeah.
met my dogs.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And they, in turn, get along with each other.
Right.
It's a really nice bonding fest. Anyway, that's wisdom from Barak Lurie on the Barak Lurie podcast. Exactly why you come to the Barak Lurie podcast. All right, today's theme, I want to talk about this. I really found this to be a very valid thing to check into.
Yeah.
We are living in the age of irresponsibility.
Yes.
Okay, so we talk a lot about how important it is to be accountable. That's, of course, true. You can't be accountable without God. We know that.
Right.
But they don't want to work, this younger generation.
No.
It's a form of not being responsible, right? They don't want to have to worry about having kids.
Right.
That's, again, a form of lack of responsibility. In fact, they fight for abortion not because they are trying to preserve the sanctity of a woman's body.
Right.
No, it's because they want to be able to have random sex and not be responsible for it in
No
case it does
consequences.
result in a pregnancy. Yeah. No consequences.
Yeah.
They don't want any restrictions on sex. They don't want any kids. They don't want any restrictions on drugs as well.
No.
And they don't want any shame. They don't want to have any sense of role in their society. That's why the transgender thing is so popular.
Right.
Because a man no longer needs to be a man. A
Right.
woman no longer needs to be a woman. Or at least they don't have to think about, do I have some obligations as a man? Do I have some obligations as a woman? Right? It's an interesting thing. The trans phenomenon, which is I hope it's just a fad,
Oh, God, yeah.
but it's a reflection of how people don't want to be responsible. They don't want to ask the question, do I have a role in my society?
Right.
And that is why I call this the age of irresponsibility. What a great way to just not have to work.
Right.
And they literally don't want to work. They view work as something that is, the last thing they ever want. Truly it's a means to an end, but they don't even think of that. They think of work as an evil in and of itself.
Right.
So therefore they don't want to work at all. I mean, I kind of understand you want to work for the weekend. Fine. You want to get your erg money so that you can take your girlfriend out to dinner, whatever it might be, to pay the rent, all those things that are necessities of life. But these people resent work altogether.
Yeah.
And the word travail. You've heard that before,
Yeah.
right? That all the travails of somebody's life, and in French, it actually comes from French.
Right.
The word to work is travailler,
Yeah.
travail.
Yeah.
So you're basically saying to travail in French.
Right.
In the French language itself, the idea of work is a travail. It's a struggle.
Right.
There's no sense of reward in work.
Really?
Well, think about that, right? If it's a travail,
Yeah.
travailler, to work, it's really to travail.
Right.
What do you do? What do you do as your travail? That's basically what you're saying. How do
is your
you struggle?
punishment?
What is your punishment? That's the way they view it, and they view earning money. There's no separate word between earning and winning in French.
Oh, wow.
It's gagner.
Yeah.
It means both to win and to earn.
That's not good.
It's not good, right?
Yeah.
So somebody who wins money in the lottery is no different than somebody who wins money working for the man.
Right.
So you're just a sucker if you win your money working for somebody,
Right.
versus somebody who wins money through the lottery. Then you're not a sucker because
Yeah.
you won that money, and it's a hell of a lot more money than you won at your job.
Right.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
But that's part of the reason why there's such antipathy toward working all over Europe, especially in France. It's awful.
Yeah.
They don't want to work. They cannot stand the idea of working. It's a travail for them. The idea that you might accomplish something great with your work, that you might reach new levels by working hard, is anathema to them.
Right.
Fascinating, right?
It really is, because what matters the most is not, in a way I actually agree with them, because I don't think the money is the point. I think it is the sacrifice. I think it is the discipline. I think it is, when you really have to work, you do have to kill some part of yourself, or at least pause that part of yourself. You have to grow. You have to become literally transform into a different person, and really force yourself to become something that you were not, like growing on that level.
Right.
And that's the point of work. If you only have the icing of the cake, and no cake, it'll be a bad example. You get sick. Like a day where I just do nothing, I feel worse.
To use your
day.
food example, it's like only having the dessert and not the vegetables
Exactly.
and the good food that goes along with it. Notice I didn't say meat. So
the entree.
The entree. So what you're saying is a good point. They don't realize the joy in working.
Yeah.
That there is something worth pursuing in working. I remember when I was working in McDonald's in Germany, and some of my greatest moments were when we were super busy.
Yeah.
And just cranking out the burgers, mostly the Big Macs and such. And we would just get them out. And we felt thrilled that we were meeting the demand.
Right.
And we were tired at the end of the shift, but the shift ended and the rush hour ended, and we enjoyed it. In fact, we looked forward to the rush hour more than just taking care of that 1/4 pounder or that one cheeseburger that came in at 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have to, here it is, we'll do it, but you don't feel like you're accomplishing that much.
Yeah.
And here we were accomplishing so much. It was a nice feeling. I felt part of the team, and we were all doing it together.
That's exactly what it's the bonding of it. And again, it becomes not about you, but about the team, about working together.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so that's the value of work, but we are now living in a time where people don't feel an obligation to work, don't feel an obligation to the other sex, don't have an obligation to the role in society, don't have an obligation to the sense of the past or the future.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting thing. I often talk about that in my books. We do have an obligation to the past, don't we?
Yeah.
Like there's so many people who fought for our freedoms.
Yeah.
The founding fathers, just the obvious example, or the 600,000 men who died one way or the other during the Civil War.
Yeah.
And they died for us. I think we have an obligation to those incredible people that fought so hard for us.
Yeah.
Who were maimed, who lost arms, and so on. And now we just kind of piss it away.
Yeah.
there's an obligation to that sense of responsibility. There it is again. And we have a sense for the future. I want to make sure that America continues on with its love of the Bill of Rights, with its love of God, with its love of the sense of law and order, with checks and balances, freedom of speech. These are things that I want people to be excited about. I want people to light firecrackers on July 4th.
Yeah.
I want them to say, you know what, America is still the best country in the world.
Yeah.
And maybe even better than it is today.
Yeah.
And to wonder why it is the best country in the world. These are great questions to ask. These are great questions to study. But they don't even have the responsibility. We talked before about the responsibility when it comes to sex.
Yeah.
There's no responsibility there. There's no responsibility of drugs. Start legalizing drugs. There's no shame in it. There's no sense of honor in it. Honor works hard. Shame is easy. But when you blend it together, then there's no work to be done.
Yeah.
So everyone is joyous to be not responsible. I think that's the age we're living in, and they don't. Another thing that they're not responsible for, they don't feel the need to, is to study history.
Yeah.
When you ask people, like, when did America declare its independence? What year?
Oh,
just
God.
the year, mind you.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the date. I mean, the date should be obvious, but just to say 1776, and they, when you ask a lot of young people today, when I say young, by the way, I'm saying 45 and younger.
Oh, wow.
I'm not saying like 20 years old and younger. 45, they don't know. We talked about this before many times. And when you ask them, and I say, don't you think you should know that? They shrug their shoulders as though, why is that important?
All right.
That's silly. That's like asking, what year did we change from this kind of coin to the next kind of coin?
Yeah.
Not really important.
All right.
Or what kind of floss you use. I mean, okay, that's really important. I mean, but 1776 doesn't mean anything to them. They really feel like there's no real responsibility. Why are you even asking me the question?
Yeah.
And that's embarrassing. I would be embarrassed by that.
Right.
I would be ashamed that I didn't, at the very least embarrassed. But me, I would be ashamed for not knowing something so basic.
Right.
And for them, it's not even there.
Yeah.
Why? Because there is no shame in our culture.
Yeah.
Where there should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So that's enough of our theme. We've got a lot of cute little tidbits to talk about before we go on. I want to speak about Margarita Gate.
There's a Margarita Gate.
Yes.
There was a Margaritaville with Jimmy Buffett.
This is Margarita Gate.
Margarita.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you know about this guy, Abrego Garcia?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's the guy in El Salvador who was wrongfully detained, an innocent father of three from Maryland. Maryland is such a nice state name, right? It's not like Oklahoma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maryland.
Yeah.
It's just the land of Mary.
That's where I went to high
must
school.
be nice.
It's a great city. Yeah.
So,
it's a great state.
it's so incongruous with the illegal nature of this man, this MS-13 nature of this man.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's in El Salvador prison. This schmuck senator who decides he's going to go talk to him and see how he's doing in this terrible prison. He was taken there, yes, incorrectly, but he could have easily been taken properly because he is an MS-13 guy.
Right.
The technical aspects of his paperwork is not really significant. This guy is a bad guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, he goes down there, tries to somehow get him out. Here's what's happening is that he talks about this, this meeting that he had with Abrego.
Yeah.
And the meeting is kind of awkward because there are some margaritas on the table. Like, well, I thought you were just meeting him, not having a festive with him.
Yeah. It's
So
not a date.
It's a date, right? So here he is, the Senator Van Hollen talking about and explaining the whole margarita situation.
When I first sat down with Kilmar, we just had glasses of water on the table. I think maybe some coffee. And as we were talking, one of the government people came over and deposited 2 other glasses on the table with ice and I don't know if it was salt or sugar around the top. but they look like margaritas. And let me just be very clear. Neither of us touched the drinks that were in front of us. Nobody drank any margaritas or sugar water or whatever it is. But this is a lesson into the lengths that President Bukele will do to deceive people about what's going on.
Okay, not quite. Okay, you think it's Margaritagate.
Yeah.
That was the issue. I mean, there was a little bit of an issue there, I guess. But the bigger issue, my friend, is that you were coming to rescue an MS-13 gang member who had also beaten his wife.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, the domestic violence cannot be said enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And well, this guy was probably trafficking human kids or drugs. I don't know which is worse. And somehow the issue for him is that this guy was clean because we didn't really order the margaritas, the apparent margaritas that are on the table there.
Yeah.
So, I want to clear this up.
Yeah.
Because otherwise everything is great. He's a good man, this Abrego guy.
Yeah. His name is Kilmore, too.
Good point.
Come on. Like, the world doesn't exist. We're living in a dream.
Kilmore.
The domestic violent MS-13 people that the Democrats are on the side. His first name is Kilmore. Like, it's just
That's
over.
a good point.
I'm sure Abrego means something weird, too,
That's very funny. Like, when you take the bar, they give you essays, and they give you some people like to kind of more or less describe the person, his role in the case. So they say you were confronted by a man. His name is Mr. Thief, and he is being chased by Mr. Innocent Guy. So at least you know what their roles are, right? But this guy Kilmore, like you said, like he could kill more people if we let him go at the end of the day. Obviously, he didn't choose the name, so we're joking around. But this guy is a bad guy, and the Democrats are doubling down on this instead of what they thought it was happening, because they always race to the story, right? They thought it was a guy that was truly innocent. He was just a father of three in Maryland, like we talked about before. And then when they discovered that he was indeed an MS-13 gang member, they still said, okay, well, we got to follow through with our story, because if we abandon this guy now because he's an MS-13 guy, well, it'll make us look inconsistent.
Right.
So we got to go on there, and he's got to paint such a pretty picture and be so sympathetic to this Abrego guy. Oh, it's so funny. Well, you know what? They're making mistakes right and left. There's nothing that they do that doesn't seem to backfire.
Right.
And I love, and we can go through the entire list. It's not just their policies, people. It's also their crazy love for climate change, for example, or fighting climate change. their crazy love of embracing, like, I don't know, Anthony Weiner, and terrible things that happen with him. Their crazy love of AOC. We'll talk about her in a bit and how crazy she is.
Yeah.
So anyway, everything backfires on them. They can't seem to get anything right. Now, speaking about AOC, so she went to Idaho, of all places, because she wants to campaign in Idaho, you see. Now, Idaho is not necessarily a target-rich environment for Democrats. I wouldn't think, and you wouldn't think.
No.
But she wants the Idahoans, is that the right words?
I don't actually know.
Idahoans? Anyway, the people of Idaho to be fooled by the Republicans. And she goes in and gives a speech, and it looks like the place is pretty packed. I don't know anymore because you can easily Photoshop that. But here we go. This is what she has to say.
You know, Idaho, I am so touched being here. I'm a girl from the Bronx. To be welcomed here in this state, all of us together, seeing our common cause, this is what this country is all about. Don't let them trick us into thinking we are enemies. Don't let them trick us into thinking we can be separated into rural and urban, black and white and Latino. We are one.
Okay. Now, I got to tell you that this bothers me a lot.
Yeah.
Here are the people that only know how to separate us.
Yeah.
In every sense of the word. Black and white, women and men, for example, young and old. I mean, everything they do is based upon demographics.
Right.
And all of a sudden now they're all one.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Notice, by the way, she said, "I'm a girl from the Bronx." Had they said, had anyone else said that of her,
Yeah.
they would have gotten into a hissy fit. But she can say it about herself, I suppose.
And she's from Westchester, too. She's not from the Bronx.
Right. She's not from the Bronx.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Anyway, let's continue on.
Alexandria, they told us this was a conservative state. They got it wrong.
And Idaho, I know that looking around here, it can feel impossible for Republicans out here to be defeated. That's not true. It's simply not true. And from the waitress who is now speaking to you today from this podium, I can tell you, impossible is nothing.
And as Alexandria just said, when we stand together, when we do not allow them to divide us up, there is no stopping us.
Miracles start with mustard seeds.
All right. So I would not have said miracles start with mustard seeds because
Really?
I don't know. I don't know why. It's not my choice.
Yeah.
So did anybody in the audience kind of nod their head? Yeah, mustard seeds. Are mustard seeds a big thing in Idaho? Is that the reason why she thought they could relate to that?
I think it's in India is that it's a big...
I don't know
Wait,
where
what's
it
that
is.
one where the kid sells a cow for like seeds and then it grows into a big plant?
Jack and the
Yeah,
Beanstalk?
maybe she's doing a Jack and the Beanstalk thing?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You are being silly, my friend. So anyway, that's not what I would have used something like miracles begin with hope or miracles begin with little dreams. Okay, fine. But this didn't make any sense. Okay, but I won't pick her on her about that. But going back to two other things that they said. One is Bernie Sanders saying, supporting her, nothing can divide us or worse to this effect. What are you talking about? That's all you do is divide.
Right.
Race relations are entirely, separate. What's the word I'm looking at? Falling apart.
Yeah.
Because you have decided to divide us between black and white. And that all happened because Obama became president. The first black president, ironically, creates more division between black and white than ever before. Now we're getting back to a little bit more sensible relations. But man, oh man, the gall of these people.
And what he says is like, we cannot lose when they try to divide us.
That's
so
right.
like we and they.
Good point.
Like you're already
Us and
dividing
them.
us. Yeah,
Yeah.
us and them, Republicans and Democrats. It's not like purple. Like we're not red states and blue states. We're, I think Clinton said that or Hillary Clinton said that. Something like that. But we're purple state.
Us and them.
Yeah.
Just like Pink Floyd predicted. Anyway, so also he talked about the impossible, right?
Yeah.
So nothing is impossible. Oh, she said something about nothing is impossible.
With
Gosh, I wonder why. In what other country could the impossible happen and become possible?
Yeah.
It seems like it's only America. Right. And this little girl from the Bronx or Brooklyn or wherever it was, she said, somehow she can now, being a waitress, oh my gosh. Yeah. She's right about one thing. That could not happen in any other country.
Right.
So now she's somehow using it against the Republicans, the very ones who advanced that theory. Where does it say in the Republican platform, and we are for the elites who are the very rich and hope that they can become the wealthy and the powerful, right? I mean, of course, this is their talking point, but it's not at all ours.
Yeah.
And to somehow suggest that they're the ones advancing this, it's very cute.
Yeah.
Let's continue on with Ms. Mustard Seeds Lady.
And that is what each and every one of you represent today. Small miracles of faith in ourselves, in each other, and in the refusal to give up.
All right, so that's the end of the campaign. So this reminds me a lot of the Kamala Harris crap.
Yeah.
Like, this is joy. Remember that? Joy.
Arbeit mit Joy.
I'm surprised they didn't use the theme Joy to the World.
Yeah.
Joy to the fishes in the deep blue sea.
Actually, it would be cool.
That
That's
would have
a
been
fun
great,
song,
right?
yeah.
Why did their campaign manager not include that? Joy, joy, joy.
It would be adorable, and then everyone's dancing. Actually, it really would be fun. Yeah.
It would harken back to a really fun time and be very nostalgic. But no, that's why they didn't hire me as campaign manager. I mean, that's their loss.
They don't want good ideas. They don't want to win.
No, hardly. No, they wanted to make certain that they would lose that campaign. All right. So that's AOC, but she's going to be the darling of the 2028 campaign. Look, it's still 3.5 years away before the next election, but I think if this is really who they plan to run, it's not looking good for the Democrats.
No.
She's got the same. I mean, this would be the third time they'd be running a woman candidate. Maybe the third time is a charm. I don't want to downplay that.
Yeah.
But not this woman. This woman is a loser.
Yeah.
This woman doesn't know what she's talking about. She's really no different than Kamala Harris. I will say for AOC that I don't get the alcoholic vibe from her. I don't get the vibe that she does pot. I just don't get that.
No.
I just think she's stupid.
Yeah.
Raw and simple.
Yeah.
She doesn't have any real ideas. She doesn't think through her ideas whatsoever. She has an idea of, wouldn't it be great if X? Well, I wonder if these people who think, wouldn't it be great if X would happen? For example, everyone should get a $100 minimum wage.
Right.
Right? By the way, that is happening in Oregon, where a candidate is now running. Sorry, Oakland.
Oh, God.
Not Oregon, Oakland. I knew it started with an O.
Yeah.
This candidate, a serious candidate, Democrat, of course, is proposing a $50 minimum wage. Okay? And I always wonder, people who think such crazy ideas,
Yeah.
do they think to themselves, I wonder why nobody else has thought about that?
Right.
Because if that worked, which it won't, and would be fantastic, why didn't the founding fathers think of this genius idea?
Yeah.
Why are you the first genius to think of this? And I could have had a V8 all along, and you're welcome.
Right.
I have the answer for you. Here it is. And please, you can thank me later. We got a lot of work to do, including giving free housing for everyone, free medical care, free education, and of course $1 million in every house.
Yeah.
And you should definitely get a house.
Oh, yeah.
And a mansion at that. Well, why not? Why?
Yeah.
At some point, do you think to yourself that maybe this cannot happen? That cannot work? Where do you, I'm just, do they think about how the money's going to come in and whether this will have an impact on the economy?
Yeah.
And whether we'll have the effect of debilitating the economy as opposed to improving it?
Right.
Do they think that?
Yeah. And the scary version is, and this is just like COVID, a big company can absorb being closed down.
Yeah.
A big rich company can absorb either the technology to make it so they don't need employees or to have the way higher minimum wage.
Yes.
A mom and pop company cannot. And what is fascism? You only want a couple large companies that you can control in every way from the government. They don't want the small mom and pop. They don't want the middle class. They don't want everybody to have a chance at a job. They just want a few people to have the chance to work in a giant company that they control in every aspect.
Oh, I see. That's very interesting.
Yeah. The dark scenario is they know exactly what they're doing and they want to go back to 1940s Germany. They want to say only a few companies, we control them, and that's it.
Yeah. And everyone will be provided with a car.
Yeah.
Everyone will be provided with air conditioning. You'll get the basics.
Yeah.
But
no choice.
You otherwise have to do what we tell you to do.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think you're 100% wrong on that. I think you got something there.
Yeah.
But there is a fascistic impulse among the Democrats, and I've seen this before from Tom Friedman, who is the darling of the left.
Yeah.
He declared that we should be China for a day. Remember this?
I do not. That's horrible.
Yeah, no.
Oh my God.
He wrote it either in a New York Times op-ed or it was in his book, The Earth is Flat.
Dear Lord.
Or whatever, Something is Flat.
Yeah.
I forget it. I stupidly read that book. I mean, I can't unread the words that I read, but nevertheless, one of the chapters there was called Let's Be China for a Day.
Oh, God.
And the concept was, wouldn't it be great if we could just get things done?
Oh, yes.
Right?
I remember that kind of now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dictator for a day or something like
Dictator
that.
for a day. And that way we can get all the important things done. Well, of course, that begs the question, what are the important things?
Yeah.
Your idea of important things may be very different than my idea of important things.
Right.
And that's the immaturity of this man he's older than me. He's supposedly a very smart man, and didn't enter his mind that we have ideas too.
Yeah.
Of what makes a better society. And he, in his mind, he thinks like we Republicans are just out there just to, put flies in the ointment,
Right.
to make their lives difficult, because we know that these projects of the bullet train and fighting climate change and raising minimum wage and imposing regulations up the wazoo, that those are wonderful, very helpful ideas that will improve America and the world for that matter, but we just want to get in the way.
Yeah. That's all we want.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's our rule.
Yeah.
And he believes that.
Yeah.
Because if he didn't believe that, if he thought it was truly equal, he wouldn't propose such a ridiculous idea.
Right.
But that's the way of the left. And Thomas Friedman is just like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, AOC thinks this way. This Oakland mayor candidate obviously thinks this way. And they don't get it. They have no concept that there might be a different way of thinking. And that's what we're really fighting against.
Yeah.
It's you could say it's ignorance on steroids, but what you're really fighting against is this desire to not think.
Yes.
It takes a little bit of work, a travail, if you will. That should have been our theme of the day. But really, you know what? That's part of the responsibility.
Yeah.
Right? To dig a little bit, just to ask, will this work?
Yeah.
Will this have consequences? That's a very fair question, right? But it's easier to not think about the consequences.
Wait, so are you saying that their utopian thinking of this is going to be the best case scenario for everything and there's nothing bad is going to happen is less mature than understanding that every decision is with payoffs, and it's like we get this good and this bad, and there's good and bad with every decision and every person? I'm confused. I haven't been thinking, so I don't know if I can understand what you're saying here.
Sir, you have described my viewpoint accurately. Very good. Yes. You know who doesn't think that you were right about this?
Yeah.
A senator, Clyburn.
Oh, Clyburn.
Now, I believe, is he North Carolina or South Carolina? I think South Carolina.
Yeah, he's one of the.
Yeah, he's one of the old time guys.
Yeah.
So he feels that the reason why the left is having problems is because the media isn't left wing enough. Okay.
They always say something like the messaging's not good in the Democrats.
That's right.
Democrats can never say how good
That's
their
right.
messaging
Yeah,
is.
exactly right. No, never mind that they do completely control the messaging.
Yeah.
In every aspect of our lives.
Yeah.
But it's not enough.
Right.
Because they have in total control. All right. So check out what he has to say.
Well, I think the message that comes from the Democratic Party is a good message. The problem we've got, Alice, is that we have to depend upon the media to deliver it. If we have the Washington Post, for instance, caving to this wannabe dictator, and we've got other media entities that seem to rather push a narrative that will bring eyes to their newspapers or to their television sets and not really give a fair hearing or reporting to what we're doing. And I would hope that there are people outside of the audience taking in what we're saying. Because
all right, this is just MSNBC anchor, and of course he enjoys it, MSNBC.
Yeah.
But to lie to himself that this is somehow fair reporting, really, you give the other side, buddy. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Anyway, what a strange argument to make. But he's basically blaming the media for not broadcasting the left-wing messages enough.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, it's really if they believe that, then I think we're in really good position.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Here's another thing from the aspect of popularity and things that they're taking for granted. They don't take a moment to wonder to themselves, maybe it's our messaging that's going wrong.
Right.
No matter how hard they broadcast it, because they certainly broadcast it wrong. Clyburn is wrong about this. Everyone was broadcasting this, from CNN to MSNBC, from the Washington Post, certainly the New York Times, the LA Times, and so many other liberal outlets. It's beyond, right? NPR.
Yeah.
And yet they still lost the election in a landslide.
Yeah.
And they also continue to lose the Senate. Well, they did lose the Senate. They were 50-50 before, right?
Yeah.
Now it's 53-47. great for us. And they still think that it's because we weren't able to deliver the message clearly. They're blaming the messenger. Maybe the idea is the message itself was awful.
Yeah.
That they don't even think of.
Right.
So here's another thing that they're doing. This is from Politico. A Democratic group plans a $12 million investment in rural areas with an eye toward 2028. Wow. A Democrat, so I'll just read the article. A Democratic candidate recruitment group is pledging to pour $12 million into rural organizing in an effort to make inroads in Red America and to lay groundwork for 2028. The organization shared first with Morning Score. That was a scoop, I guess.
Sure, first with Morning Score.
The investment by contest every race in rural areas marks an expansion of the group's grants program, which gave $1.2 million to local parties in 2024, but has seen a surge in donor interest in the second Trump administration. A surge. 12 times.
Yeah.
No, it's 10 times, I guess. 1.2 to 12.
Yeah.
That's still not a lot of money.
No.
Okay, that's a drop.
Right.
I mean, and how many billions were poured in this recent election?
Yeah.
And you're talking to me about 12 million for the rural, to get the rural vote out there? I think it might need a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it won't matter. That's my point. Anyway, the group's grant program, which has given to local parties in 29 states since 2021, is now expanding nationwide in what it casts as the, quote, largest long-term volunteer-powered organizing initiative aligned with the Democratic Party, unquote. The investment comes as Democrats for years have struggled in rural swaths of the country, a problem compounded by President Donald Trump's appeal to working-class voters and Democratic messaging some in the party have argued is out of touch. Yeah. Okay. I'm telling you, I think they'll find that no matter how much money they might spend in these areas, there won't be enough soil that will accept that seed, man. Even if it's a mustard seed, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
And the soil is basically going to say, you ain't growing here, man.
Right.
It's like trying to sell parkas in Palm Desert. You might.
Yeah.
You might sell a couple. I'm not saying that you can't. It just won't be as many.
No.
That's all.
Yeah.
But now your people are leaving the big city.
Yeah.
And they're fleeing to the burbs. In fact, they're fleeing to the rurals. Idaho being them. Tennessee and otherwise. So what to do? What to do? The Democrats are asking. Maybe it's going to be like Dances with Wolves, that movie, or like the more modern adaptation, Avatar.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, God,
where they'll come out to the rural areas and discover the actual cool ways of the simple folk, of the sensible ways of the religious folk.
Yeah.
Right? And live their lives and yet somehow feel connected with them, even though they didn't initially agree with them. Yeah. It'll be just like those movies.
Yeah.
Anyway, I see a movie here where no one else does. Okay? It's all I'm saying.
Oh, I love that. It could be like Constitution. And it could be that great moment where they connect. And it's like Constitution. And it's like,
Right.
Yeah, Constitution. Yeah, Bill of Rights.
Wouldn't it be funny, though, if they did go out to these rural areas and discovered, come to think of it, actually kind of makes sense. Because in their mind's eye, I guarantee you, in the typical blue-haired left nut eye, when they think of a conservative, they think of a guy with one tooth,
Yeah.
and he's chomping on a blade of grass or whatever, wheat,
Yeah.
and he's got a gun slung to his back, and he's opening the beer bottle with the gun,
Yeah.
right? Drinking a lot, and saying Jesus loves you, but he doesn't love you.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that you're all going to be gone to hell if you learn this thing called evolution, or anything about socialism. That's what they think.
Yeah.
And what happens when you actually talk to a conservative, and you discover somebody like Pete Hegseth, who is super bright,
Yeah.
or Ted Cruz, because they're conservative,
Yeah.
as conservative as you and I are, and they're super intelligent.
Right.
How do you reconcile that? How do you square that circle?
Yeah.
I don't think they can. So by going out to the rural areas, which they should have done a long time ago, they might very well become like the soldier in the Kevin Costner character in Dances with Wolves, right?
Yeah.
I just think it's a cute moment to think about that.
Yeah. No, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. CAA agency has a contract. It basically does contracts with folks for speaking and writing. And usually former presidents command significant speaking fees.
Yeah.
Right? Well, the market has spoken when it comes to Joe Biden.
So let me get this straight. Probably $10 million per speech? 20?
No.
No.
As it turns out. Former President Joe Biden's attempt to bill $300,000 per speaking appearance is finding few takers.
Oh, that's embarrassing. $300,000. Oh, my God.
The New York Post reported late on Thursday. Some of his own former aides say it's time for the 82-year-old to leave the spotlight for good after reminiscing about colored kids on Tuesday in his first public address since leaving office.
Oh, God.
CAA is having trouble booking gigs for President Biden, which isn't surprising, the tipster said. The Post's Stephen Nelson added, the precise reason that Biden is struggling to find top-dollar audiences is unclear. Okay, you're unclear about it. How come Devin and I are pretty damn clear about it?
Yeah.
Okay, nobody wants to listen to him.
No.
I don't know how anyone could say, even among Democrats, to say, wow, I just went to a rally, post-presidential election rally, to hear former President Biden talk, and wow, it was so inspiring.
No.
And even if he didn't say it was inspiring, I just heard, I'm going to hear former President Biden speak. You would say, really? You're gonna do that?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, he's not going to be cognizant. He's not gonna be, yeah.
I mean, I guess he doesn't have to worry too much about what he says, but all the more reason not to want to go. I mean, there's nothing inspiring about this man. It hasn't been anything inspiring since day one.
Yeah.
Well before he was president, for that matter. Bill Clinton, I can understand. He's very captivating. He's got charisma. I'll say that for Obama, too.
Yeah.
I don't like anything that they believe in, although I must say Bill Clinton is becoming much more conservative in his older age, which is interesting. But that's another day.
So you mean he's becoming more and more against Hillary Clinton?
Oh, that's good.
Hey-o.
That's good. But Biden, why would you want to go to that? I mean, if you can pretend all day long while he's campaigning that he's capturing the imagination of the electorate. I get that. But now it's over. There's no need to pretend anymore.
No. Okay.
I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's like the transvestite who's been pretending that he's a woman all this time.
Yeah.
And then his somehow his mask has come off, and it's, you can see the bulge in his pants, and so you don't go back. You don't go back and pretend that he was really a woman.
Right.
At this point.
Yeah.
No, I can't unsee what I've seen.
Right.
So I'm not going to accept you as a woman just because you went back. Anyway, you get the idea.
Yeah.
And why would anyone go to a Biden thing? And there's no pretending anymore. He was boring.
Yeah.
He was not cognizant. He was. Everyone's now coming out saying, "You knew." No, you knew. No, you knew first. No, you knew first.
Yeah.
And all pointing fingers at each other. But we all agreed that he's got dementia now.
Yeah.
Why would you want to go see a speech of a guy who is clearly mentally impaired, who wasn't interesting in the first place?
Yeah.
Didn't do anything for the presidency, didn't inspire in any way. The things he's talking about now is all about being nasty about Trump, saying, this is a country of laws and we need to fight for the poor folk and for minorities. If that's inspiring to you, kol kavod, as we say in Hebrew, go for it. It's weird.
Yeah, it's
weird.
just kind of cruel too.
It is cruel to him, and they should not let him out. It's just not right. Okay, when it comes to popularity now of Trump, so Trump is doing so well now that his popularity remains the same despite the tariffs.
Yeah,
but the popularity of the Democrats is decreasing over time, and they're not even in power.
Wow.
Which is really funny.
That is hard to do.
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
They're not in power in the Senate, the House, or the presidency,
Yeah.
or the Supreme Court for that matter, and they still are losing popularity. Very funny.
Oh man.
This is interesting. The Trump administration is mulling ways to get more Americans married and having kids,
Nice.
including a $5,000, quote, baby bonus for every new mom after delivery.
Nice.
White House officials have recently been brainstorming plans to tackle the declining birth and marriage rates and push more Americans toward the traditional family values of Trump and his allies. Policy experts and advocates for growing the birth rate have been meeting with White House aides to come up with plans to convince more women to have babies. Birth rates in the U.S. have long been slipping, hitting a new low in 2023 with just under 3.6 million babies born that year. That's about 76,000 less than 2022 and the lowest one-year tally since 1979.
Wow.
That's according to the New York Post. From Colin Rugg, he pointed out that in addition to the $5,000 baby bonus, the administration is considering reserving 30% of Fulbright program scholarships for married applicants or those who have children.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
U.S. birth rates have been declining for years. 2023, I just mentioned that. Money. Here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Is this the right track? Is this the right approach? I mean, you said nice throughout this.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's really good to encourage people to have children. I like Viktor Orban saying, you have 4 kids, no taxes. 3 kids, you like only 25% of what everyone else is. Give them a lifetime incentive, not a one-time payment. But I love the idea that but we need to also glamorize being a mother, glamorizing being a wife, glamorize being a husband. And that's what the left has done every step of the way for the last 30 years. Or 40 years. They've destroyed husbands. They destroyed mothers and making them think that their suckers are bad when they're actually wonderful.
You're entirely too cynical. I'm with you. Going back to Orban, because you mentioned him. This is the president of Hungary.
Yeah.
He not only proposed no taxes for the rest of your life, but also I think that some sort of major suburban Cherokee to sit at least 4 kids in the back. So the car, you would get a free car too.
Oh, well, nice.
For the rest of your life.
That's actually, done.
Okay,
yeah.
sounds good, right?
Yeah.
Not enough.
I like your style. Yeah.
No. I'm not saying it's not enough for people.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
Really?
It sounded super nice.
Yeah.
It didn't work, and it could not work. And I said it when he proposed it.
Oh, really?
I like where his heart is, but
Yeah.
I don't care where people's heart is. I like getting results.
Yeah.
So it's like if you gave a breast cancer somebody who's suffering from breast cancer, and you say, well, here's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And just give it to them and spend as much as you like. It's not going to cure the breast cancer.
That is true.
What's going to cure the breast cancer is chemotherapy and maybe some surgery, a lot of things that can happen, and it might cure it.
Right.
Or at least get rid of the cancer. It'll never be cured. I always say there won't be a cure for cancer.
Right.
They'll be dealing with cancer, but you need to prevent it in the first place. That's another story.
Right.
But in a sense, it's really the same story here. The disease is not that we're not having enough kids.
No, that's true.
It's a symptom of the disease.
Yeah.
The disease is godlessness.
Yeah.
The reason you cannot pay people enough money. $5,000 certainly will not cut it.
No.
A year, even if it's a year, or the 30%, the Fulbright scholarship fine. Okay, that's going to get people suddenly hopping in the sack and trying to produce babies? I don't think so.
Right.
And we're talking about the number one urge of human beings is to have sex.
Yeah.
Right? I like sex. You like sex.
Yeah.
Most people like sex.
Yeah.
They might have a different degree of liking it, but everyone seems to like it, and most people like it a lot.
Right.
In fact, they have to control their appetite to do it. And yet, they don't want to have the natural product of sex.
Right.
And they do everything they can to not have that product.
Yes.
Which is a baby. Okay. Why? Why is it that they don't want to have babies? Because if this were the problem, Devin,
Yeah.
if money was the answer to this, then how come money was not a factor 50 years ago?
Right.
I mean, poor people were having a lot of kids back in the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
Middle income people were having that back in the 60s and so on. And they felt that's what you do. You have a lot of kids.
Right.
But somehow now it's a matter of money. I don't get that. So it's something else.
You're right.
And if it's a matter of money, this amount of money ain't doing it. I talked about this in my book, Atheism Destroys.
Right.
Because it does kill the family, and it kills the desire for children.
Right.
Because if money did answer this, then you would need a lot more, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Because it takes, in today's dollars, about $300,000 per kid, assuming public school.
Right.
This is before college.
Yeah.
Okay, so per kid, $300,000.
Wow.
Okay, $5,000 a year is not going to cut it.
No.
And that's before all the other factors you have to concern yourself with. Here they are. And this is among many, okay?
Yeah.
Taking them to the doctor.
Yeah.
Worrying about monsters under the bed, okay? Tireless nights, feeding them, making sure that they get along with their friends and dealing with bullies, arguing with the teacher. And maybe the kid might have a learning disability or otherwise it's a special needs kid. That's very possible. And then you might not share the same politics in the end of the day.
Yeah.
The kid might hate you later on. There's no guarantee that the kid is going to love you.
Right.
He may not ever come to your Thanksgiving, may not let you see your grandkids.
Yeah.
So where's the payoff on this, please?
Yeah.
Right? If you're looking at it only as a financial point of view.
If you only have a material perspective.
There's no reason to have kids.
Right.
Why would you?
Yeah.
Especially if you don't believe in God.
Yeah.
And if you believe in the crap that climate change is real and that every child contributes to climate change, why would you have any kid?
Right.
Why would you not just cut off the spigot of your line by not having kids?
Right.
It's as simple as that. And everyone can look at you like you're some sort of hero.
Yeah.
So the reason why we have kids is because it's a joy and an obligation.
Yeah.
It is. There's always that sense of you have to have kids.
Right.
If you want to continue civilization, you must have kids. But it's one of those tragedy of the commons situations.
Yeah.
Right? Where everyone expects someone else to be the one carrying the load.
Right.
In this case, carrying a baby. And, well, you can have a baby if you want to, but I don't want to have a baby.
Right.
And I feel righteous and justified in not having a baby because I love the planet, or fill in your favorite Mad Libs, blank.
Right.
It's silly and it's wrong, but that's the reason why it's happening.
Yeah.
Money is not the answer.
Yeah.
It's nice to think that that's an incentive, that money can solve these problems. But just like throwing money at a woman's chest and saying, here it is, this is going to cure your breast cancer. It's not.
No.
So, and I'm not talking about using the money to then get a chemotherapy session. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about money just as money. Money does not solve this problem.
Yeah.
What solves this problem is God.
Yeah.
And understanding that God is real, that God wants us to multiply. It always struck me as odd when I was a little boy, 10, 12, 15 even, that the Bible said, be fruitful and multiply.
Right.
I thought, why do you need to say that? I mean, don't we want to have sex anyway?
Yeah.
Don't we want to have a lot of kids? Isn't that fun to have a lot of kids? And now I realize why the Bible contains that language. It's because without him, it doesn't make sense to have kids.
Right.
Why would you have it?
Yeah.
I've said this before. I'll say it again. I often approach an atheist, and if they tell me they have a child, I'll say, why did you have that child?
Yeah.
It's the funniest thing. They don't know the answer.
How to perplex an atheist. Why did you have a kid? I
don't know. I mean, I went to a park, and my little boy was young at the time, and there was another couple. They had a child a little bit younger, and their child was in the Baby Bjorn, the little sack that they have in front. And she's kind of like bobbing up and down this baby, and she's with her husband. They're about 35 years old, both of them. You could tell this is their one and done child. Yeah. They took a long time to develop her career, and now she's ready to have that baby.
Yeah.
You could tell. But at some point, I kind of figured out who they were.
Yeah.
I figured out they were liberal. They said something.
Yeah.
And then I said, why'd you have this child?
Yeah.
And it stunned them. And she turned to her husband and said, yeah, honey, why did we have this child?
Disharmony from then on out in that marriage.
and the husband looks like he's in big trouble all of a sudden. And I say, well, nice knowing you. And off I went. Oh man, that created a disconnect that was not comfortable for them. I didn't do it on purpose to create a disconnect, but I clearly did create a disconnect between the two of them. But more important is that they weren't able to answer that question.
Yeah.
If you can't figure out why you're having children, then maybe you ought not to have children.
Yeah.
Because if the answer is only, well, I want someone to pass on my values.
Right.
Okay, if that's your answer, that's not good enough.
No.
To say nothing of the fact that your child may not have your values.
Yeah.
I mean, we know too many stories of conservatives who end up having children who end up rejecting all their values.
Right.
So and vice versa,
Yeah.
I assume. One of my close friends, we just had lunch, and he said that his parents were wildly liberal, and they're very upset with him for being conservative. And I mean, it cuts both ways, I guess.
Yeah.
But so the point is, there's no guarantee that they have your values.
Yeah.
They might hate you and do everything that's opposite of you. Like son of Hamas, right? That guy. Okay, he is the Hamas leader.
Yeah.
He was killed, thank God. But that guy, the son of Hamas, the leader, now is an outspoken critic of not only Hamas, but all the terrorists in the Arab world. And he loves Israel.
Wow.
I think he's even thinking about converting to Judaism. But the point is that whether he converts or not, that father is probably not happy with his son speaking out so vehemently against Hamas and the Palestinian cause and the Arab cause, for that matter, and the cause of Islam. So you just don't know. So why would you have a kid on the? If it's 100% chance that your kid will share your values, okay, then there's a little bit of an argument there. But even that's not so good.
Yeah.
Who cares whether they share your values and do what with it?
Right.
What's are you going to? If they just are exactly like you, and you just have a belief system, who cares? The world is not run on belief systems.
Right.
It's run on action.
Yeah.
And in creation and progress in terms of innovations and medicine and so on like that. That would be something.
Right.
But these people don't ask themselves why they have children at all.
Yeah.
Funny.
No, it's wild.
Here's a cute thing about speaking about that is the youth vote is in trouble for the Democrats.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is kind of fun. So in addition to the rural area we talked about, in addition to why are people not having kids and such, we know that the youth vote is not going very well for the Democrats.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, why is this happening?
Yeah.
And the Democrats are really flustered. They're losing tremendously in the youth vote. And New York Times had an article about this, and there was like a big question mark about this. How is this happening? How are we losing our voices here? And most of the talk is, well, look, you haven't been delivering an economy where young people can afford a house, where young people can get a job that they like, where young people can have a shot at enjoying what life might have to offer.
Right.
And they talk about how they can't even afford to have enough financial stability to get married.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's about 10%, maybe 15% of the explanation.
Yeah.
Now let's assume for the sake of discussion that is the explanation.
Right.
Then the Democrats have really screwed this up.
Yeah.
They took for granted these kids. What they did is they got these kids all angry
Right.
about their situation in life and told them, you got to vote for us. But they forgot that the person who was in the White House was a Democrat,
Yeah.
and he was not delivering, and he was making things worse, in fact. So they lose that argument when they're complaining about the economy while the president is still a Democrat.
Yeah.
So that's problem number one for them. Problem number two for them is that their economics have backfired on them.
Yeah.
So you're telling them to complain about it, but in fact, by telling them that their problems are very real, you're reminding them, don't vote for us.
Right.
Whatever you do, don't vote for us. So I guess that's related to the first point in some ways, but they just took them for granted and are so surprised that they're voting for the Republicans,
Yeah.
actively voting for the Republicans. That's how bad things have gotten for the young people.
Yeah.
But again, that's assuming that the 15% is actually 100%. That's the main reason. That's why young people are voting for the Republicans,
Right.
by and large. I don't buy that.
Okay.
I think it's 10 or 15%, like I said.
Yeah.
I think the remaining 90 to 85% is much more simple. These people, these young people, are the products of religious people.
I think so. Yeah.
They've spent generations now telling people, generally speaking, not to have children because it's a burden to the planet. It contributes to global warming. So don't have children. And so they didn't have children.
Yeah.
But the conservatives did. They'd had 6 to 8 children.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little bit less, 4 children, whatever. But these kids grew up. And as it turns out, did you know that they vote?
What?
Yes,
No way.
way.
Come on.
It's true. Yeah. And here we are.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing. I think that's the majority of the reason why young people are voting Republican. Because they're actually Republicans.
Right.
Surprise.
Yeah.
And they didn't realize how they painted themselves into their corner with their own policies.
Right.
As I said, nothing that they advance ever works out for them.
Not at
it
all.
always backfires on them.
Yeah.
So, interesting point. I just made that on Newsmax as well, and they seem to like that argument.
Nice.
I think it's true.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So, Israel. Great things are happening there.
Nice.
Netanyahu and Trump now say that they are fully on the same page with each other. There is nothing that they disagree with, which means that Israel's going to attack Iran.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I want to make this very clear. People are saying that Trump is not on the same page, that in fact he really does want to hold Israel back.
Yeah.
I don't buy that.
Yeah.
I think this is a big feint. Like I said, it would be the solution. What is the alternative? The alternative is, yes, we both agree we're going to attack Iran, and we're going to do it on May 2nd.
Right.
It's going to be at 11 o'clock in the morning, Tehran time.
Yeah.
Here's what our jet fighters look like.
Yeah.
And they will be F-35s, and we will drop the following cluster bombs. You can find the cluster bombs at the following place. I mean, what are they thinking?
Yeah.
Do they really think that Netanyahu and Trump would show that force of solidarity?
Yeah.
That they agree on this? That there isn't this tension? Of course they're going to fake it. If they didn't say anything, that would also be a problem.
Right.
Because the Iranians would correctly figure out that they're working together to blow up Tehran,
Right.
which they are.
Yeah.
But instead, they're doing exactly what should be done, which is to create confusion, to make it seem as if there is not that there is trouble in paradise, essentially, and that they don't agree to attack Iran, and certainly not together.
Yeah.
And that Trump is telling them, no way, we're not going to do this. And not only that, but I'm going to go to Tehran. I'm going to hammer out a great deal. I am.
Yeah.
Right. Never mind that Trump himself had said a deal with Iran is a deal with terrorism.
Right.
He said that long ago, that
Yeah.
it was a great shame for the country. These guys are terrorists. So
Yeah.
the idea of this president going out and hammering out a deal with Iran
No.
is so laughable to me. It's as laughable. If I were president,
Yeah.
you know that I would never say yes to a deal with Iran because I don't believe you can have diplomacy with dictatorships. It's impossible.
Wait, you do not want them to have nuclear weapons that they can shoot at anybody? You don't want them to have pallets of billions of dollars? I thought I knew you. I thought, like, is this? Have you been abducted? Is this some imposter? What?
I'm a little out there today. I get it. I admit that, but that is my position. Yes. All right. So, but that's what's so funny. Like even among some of my conservative friends who are kind of shaking their heads and concerned about this. I don't know, Barak. I just don't. I'm worried. Like, don't worry.
Yeah.
It's gonna be all right.
They were saying that about Elon and Trump all the time. J.D. Vance and Trump all the time.
Yeah.
They keep on, Hexeth, Trump's hate Hexeth, and all this stuff. It's never true. They're liars. We know they're liars. And oddly enough, no one's watching them anymore.
Yes,
Yeah.
for some reason. Yeah. And they always lie. They always present fake news. Look, here's Pete Hegseth, who properly trounces the media on that very issue.
You know, what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't give back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. And on hoaxes, time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter.
Okay, so that is precisely right. And also, the thing I like to focus on is this unnamed sources concept.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They usually have a reliable source, an unnamed source, anonymous source, and they run with it, and they just tell you this is what's happening in the administration. They have no basis for it. Yeah. It's a complete lie.
Yeah.
And yet they continue to trot it out, hoping that people will kind of glom onto it. But they don't. I mean, people have no trust in the media now. And polling shows this.
Yeah.
They don't believe in the media. And I think it's 11%. It might be even worse than Congress itself, which is pretty low itself. And they don't take this correctly. They do understand that it will get some traction for the time being in the short run.
Yeah.
In the long run, and not even such long run, it's more like the mid run, things fall apart. Their stories fall apart, but nobody calls them to account. Again, we live in the time of irresponsibility.
And they go in the next story, and then, or they'll say, they won't do anonymous source, they'll say, experts warn.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Unnamed
so
experts.
Yeah. Speaking about another fake story. So, as you may know, there's talk between the Trump administration and China regarding the tariffs and what to do with that. And there's some negotiation. Now, another unnamed source says that there is no conversation. Even some China folks are saying this. But look how CNN is trying to portray it with Jake Tapper.
China insinuating today that President Trump is lying. Just this moment, a spokesperson for China's foreign ministry saying that as far as he knows, China and the United States have not held any consultations or meetings or negotiations on tariffs. And the idea that China and the U.S. have been engaged in talks, which President Trump has been asserting, is, quote, fake news. But President Trump repeated his claim. Here's what he said when asked about it this morning.
Clarify with whom the U.S. is speaking with China. They're saying it's fake news that trade talks are happening.
Well, they had a meeting this morning, so I can't tell you. It doesn't matter who they is. We may reveal it later, but they had meetings this morning, and we've been meeting with China. And so I think you have, Jeff, as usual, I think you have your reporting wrong.
Okay, so who do you believe?
Yeah.
Some random Chinese official that I've never seen, or the president?
Yeah.
I mean, why would he lie about this?
Yeah.
And if he wanted to show himself to be tough, he would say something like, we met with the Chinese, they refused to negotiate with us, they will regret that.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be easy for him to say.
Right.
Why would he lie about a meeting that they are talking about? So maybe the Chinese didn't like the meeting that they had with Trump.
Right.
and felt that they were in a bad position, or they changed their minds, and they'll say, we deny it.
Yeah.
And I want you to know, and did you know, that sometimes dictatorships lie.
What?
Yes.
No way.
Way.
Come on.
It's true. The fact is that when you're trying to choose between somebody who is leader of a democratic country, and a dictatorship, you might want to think about choosing the free country.
Right.
It's an easy approach to deciding who's right and who's wrong.
Yeah.
There is accountability because with Trump, he still believes in responsibility at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And he does hold true to his promises. I must say, I mean, promises made, promises kept. That's one thing that he can always say.
Yeah, and after all Trump has gone through, all the trials, being shot, do we take him or some guy who kind of looks like Winnie the Pooh? Don't know which, but yeah. Dal of Pooh or The Art of the Deal? Which one?
So, yeah, that's just true. That's right. All right. So we talked before about the senator going to El Salvador for the Margarita Gate thing, right?
Okay.
So, but he's not the only senator going to push very unpopular causes. Again, it's like Pharaoh. It's like God has a heart in Pharaoh's heart. We talked about that last week. Check this out. So what's his name? The squad member is now slammed for startling warning in defense of the anti-Israel protester. This is from Fox News. Check it out.
I've just left my visit with Mahmoud Khalil at the Central Louisiana Ice Processing Facility in Jenna, Louisiana. Khalil's story is one of pain, perseverance, and strength, but it should never have been.
Okay, let me get this straight. And this is, by the way, what's his name? Oh gosh, I can't remember the senator's name. But anyway, he flew to Louisiana, like I said, to check out Khalid, and he said pain, perseverance, and something else, right?
Yeah.
Patience, I guess.
Yeah.
He wanted to have that alliteration, which I kind of respect. Pain, perseverance, and patience. Okay, if that's the case, then you're really making him out to be some sort of martyr.
Yeah.
But you weren't there when it comes to all the victims of people like him. I'm talking about Mahmoud Khalil, but all the people who suffered as victims of October 7.
Yeah.
Right. You don't talk about their pain. You certainly don't talk about the pain of the hostages.
Yeah.
An incredible thing.
And there still are hostages.
Yes, 59 of them.
Like, that cannot be said enough.
Yes, and I want to speak about that because my son did something very extraordinary about this. But yeah, definitely remind me at the end of this thing because we're about to wrap up. But here's the thing, that he would go down to see Mahmoud Khalil, who has no business being in this country. He was trying to destroy this country. It calls for the end of civilization itself, at least Western civilization.
Yeah.
And the other schmuck who goes down to support an MS-13 gang member, what do they have in common, these two? They are both pushing very anti-popular moves.
Yeah.
It's weird. I mean, it's like they want to lose.
Yeah.
Please, I want you to associate me with a Hamas terrorist. I want you to associate me or the Democrat Party with the MS-13 drug cartels.
Yeah.
Please, by all means, associate with that. That is what The Producers was all about. The movie The Producers, where do you see the movie?
Yeah, I love it. Okay, stage play too. Yeah, it's amazing.
So it's a stage play.
Yeah.
And they try to make the movie a failure for investment reasons.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, they decided, well, let's try to associate ourselves with Hitler.
Right.
And people will be shocked and very disappointed and angry with that. Of course, it's very funny because the play ends up being a fantastic success, much to their chagrin. Yeah. And the famous line is, "Where did we go right?"
Yeah.
It's a really cute line. But here they're really trying to make sure that people think of the Democrat Party as just this awful party that always takes the wrong side.
Yeah.
And frankly, they do. And then they're surprised why the young vote doesn't vote for them.
Yeah.
Why the black vote is no longer voting for them, at least not in the ways that they used to. The Latina vote is dead even right now. Yeah. The women vote is not very good for them either. Other than that, and the white vote, of course, the white male vote is very strongly in favor of the conservatives anyway.
Yeah.
But other than that, they've got a clean sweep.
Oh, they're doing great. Yeah. Other than that, yeah. It's so amazing that they call people their enemy and Trump constantly Hitler, or even Putin Hitler, which is kind of just they don't understand the history, and then they side with anti-Semites. That's not. You got to be a little consistent, you know. Don't
Right.
be anti-Semitic and then call somebody Hitler. Like, are you praising them then, or
I know.
Yeah.
It's a topsy-turvy world. I'll leave on this one important point that I want to talk about the hostages situation, something that my son did. I'm very proud of him.
He's a good man.
All right. Now that the Trump administration is actually fighting anti-Semitism, the architect of Biden's anti-Semitism policy, that's the architect in quotes, has popped up to warn that fighting anti-Semitism will cause anti-Semitism. It's like, I don't know, it's like saying having sex will cause virginity.
Yeah.
I don't get that. And to blame Jews for anti-Semitism. In an interview with Politico, Alex Pascal, an Obama and Biden vet, claims that pulling money from colleges that failed to follow civil rights laws and deal with anti-Semitism will, in Politico's words, quote, backfire and fuel anti-Semitism, unquote.
Wow. They're going to resent civil rights because they're enforcing civil rights
Right.
laws.
That's right.
Yeah.
You see, the Jews are responsible for their anti-Semitism. If only they had just kept their own damn mouths shut and let us beat them up.
Yeah.
It's like the bully. Don't fight back, and he won't get more angry. See?
Yeah.
Which
just
works.
works.
Give it. It always works.
Yeah.
Can you imagine parents saying, "Oh, you're bullied? Just let him bully you.
Yeah.
It'll work out really well for you
Yeah.
that way." Trust me on this one. Okay. I mean, it's so funny. Like you would never say this about anything else.
No.
But somehow, it's, oh, you've got cancer? Oh, well, just let the cancer do what it needs to do.
Being mad at transphobes causes more transphobia.
Yes. Oh, my gosh, you're right.
Yeah, it's
I didn't
true.
even think about that.
Anonymous experts have stated this.
That's a great example. Yeah. If you fight for gay rights, you'll get more attack for being gay.
Actually, that's kind of in a weird way. Like, the more gay rights parades, the less people are like, oh, okay, that's too gay. Like, I'm way more heterosexual
Tough
now,
crowd.
but yeah.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, what's their argument? Really, that you're going to say that the more that's like saying that police, the more they fight crime, the more crime you'll have.
Yeah, which is actually the opposite statistically in every way. Yeah.
Right, in every way. It's obviously.
But that's actually
absurd.
what they said during COVID with George Floyd and stuff. So yeah, they're consistent with
right.
that. Yeah, it's
yes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the police? There's some Jews getting beaten up, like to a pulp.
Yeah.
And the police are doing nothing, and the two Jews being beaten up are saying, we got 20 people beating us up. Can you do something? No, we wouldn't want to make it worse.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
We want to stop anti-Semitism.
Yes,
so
we're actually helping you. It's tough love, man.
Yeah.
All right, I want to tell you about my son, who did an amazing thing this past Monday. What did he do? He's a swimmer.
Yeah.
And he decided that he was going to raise money for the hostages, an awareness for the hostages, and by raising money for two great groups.
Yeah.
Stand With Us, which is an organization that fights anti-Semitism throughout the world. This is an amazing organization, folks. StandWithUs.org. Check it out.
Yeah.
Contribute as much as you can, whether it's through my son or otherwise. I would appreciate that. Try to find him. It's Alex Lurie. Find the fundraising page for him. And what did he do? He did 200 meters.
Wow.
That's 8 laps in a 25-meter pool. 200 meters for every hostage still in Gaza.
Wow.
Yeah. That translates to, wait for it, almost 7.5 miles.
Wow.
It took him 4.5 hours to do it with minimal breaks. Every 200 meters, he would pause just to look at the picture that we would present him of another hostage, and he would yell out the name.
Wow.
And then go on to the next one and the next one. Devin, most of the time, this is his bar mitzvah project, by the way. For most bar mitzvah boys and girls, they do a little project of some kind. They don't have to, but it's nice to do it. They may spend a weekend at an old age home,
Oh, nice.
feeding the homeless, doing something nice. I'm not poo-pooing it at all.
Right.
It's a very nice thing to do.
Yeah.
They might go to a pet shelter and help out there. I've heard so many nice things. And they raise some money. Usually the money is about $800, $900. I heard $1,000 once.
Yeah.
I was very impressed.
Yeah.
It's nice. Okay, it's a little bit like a lemonade stand. You don't expect the kid to come home. Well, how'd you do, Charlie? Oh, I cleaned a good $3,000. You don't expect that.
Yeah.
You expect $30. Okay,
Exactly.
$40. Okay, so I didn't expect anything more than $800, $900.
Right.
He raised $18,000.
$18,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
For Stand With Us and for Friends of the IDF.
Wow.
FIDF, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
That's
so
amazing.
please check it out. If you can contribute, dear listener, any amount you like, any small amount, your name shows up. I get to find out about it, and I'm always so thankful. I will thank you. It could be, $18. It could be $36. It could be $360. We've had contributions between, $5. We actually had a $2 contribution,
Yeah.
which I'm happy about.
Yeah.
To a $2,000 contribution.
Nice.
So anywhere in between is fine, folks.
Wow.
Every little bit counts.
Yeah.
And what's really even more important to me, I mean, it's great to be able to announce that Alex will be able to announce that he raised $17,500. But what's even cooler is that he can announce how many people contributed.
Yeah.
How this message got out there, and I'm really proud of him. So do contribute. Go check out standwithus.org and navigate yourself toward the Alex Lurie fundraiser page. I think you'll find it, and then contribute to that page. It'll mean a lot to me and to Devin.
That's awesome.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, folks, Barak Lurie signing off with another great Barak Lurie podcast. Thank you so much for listening. In the meantime, God bless, be strong, and we'll talk with you next week.